When the camera was first introduced to the world in the 19th century, many indigenous cultures across the globe reacted with absolute terror. They refused to have their pictures taken. They believed that the camera was a dark, mechanical weapon. They believed that every time the flash went off, the machine captured a fragment of their soul, trapping their spirit forever inside a piece of paper. Modern society laughed at them. We called it superstition. We called it primitive ignorance. But looking at the world today, we must ask ourselves a terrifying question. What if they were right? Today, we do not fear the camera. We worship it. We voluntarily fragment our souls and upload them to a digital void. We offer our faces, our breakfasts, our private tears, and our intimate moments to an invisible crowd of strangers, begging for a momentary hit of validation. In the modern world, the golden rule is, to be perceived is to exist. If you do not post, you are not real. But right in the middle of this loud, desperate circus, there is an anomaly. There is a rare psychological profile that quietly defies the golden rule. Look at your contact list. Look at your followers. Among the endless sea of heavily edited faces, there is someone with a blank profile picture. Someone who has an account, but hasn't posted a photo of their face in 5 years. A digital ghost. Society looks at them and assumes they are insecure. They assume they hate their bodies, or that they have nothing to show off. But psychology tells a very different, much powerful story. Today we are going to explore the profound psychology of the people who refuse to post their lives online. And by the end of this video, you will realize that they are not hiding in fear. They are standing in a fortress. To understand the person who doesn't post, we must first understand the invisible prison that everyone else is living in. In the 20th century, the philosopher Michel Foucault popularized the concept of the panopticon. The panopticon is a theoretical prison design. The prisoners are placed in a circle, and the guard tower is in the center. The genius of the design is that the prisoners can never see into the tower. They never know if they are being watched at any given moment. Because they might be watched, they constantly behave as if they are being watched. They become their own guards. They police their own behavior. Social media is the ultimate digital panopticon. When you post your face online, you invite the gaze of the watchtower. You are no longer just living your life. You are performing your life for an invisible audience of hundreds or thousands of acquaintances, ex-lovers, and strangers. You start to evaluate your own worth based on how the watchtower reacts. You curate your smile. You filter your flaws. The French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre famously said, "Hell is other people." He meant that the moment someone else looks at you, you are reduced to an object in their universe. You lose your pure, subjective freedom. The person who never posts photos subconsciously understands this. They refuse to step into the panopticon. They refuse to be reduced to an object in someone else's scrolling feed. By keeping their face off the internet, they are actively defending their psychological sovereignty. They are saying, "I exist for myself. I am not a performance." We have entered a highly dystopian era of human history, an era defined by the commodification of the self. We are constantly told that we need to build a personal brand. We are told that our faces, our hobbies, and our traumas are content. Think about how terrifying that word is. content. It means that your life is no longer a sacred, private experience. It is raw material to be consumed by an algorithm, digested by strangers, and converted into data for advertisers. When you post a photo of your face, you are putting yourself on a digital shelf. You are begging the market to appraise your value through likes and comments. The digital ghost, the person who refuses to post, is staging a silent, brilliant rebellion against this market. They possess a rare psychological trait called high internal locus of control. This means they do not need the external world to validate their existence. They do not need a stranger to double-tap their face to know that they are beautiful. They look at the desperate commodification of the human soul, and they simply opt out. They refuse to be content. They understand that the moment you turn your life into a product, you give everyone the right to be a critic, and they refuse to give you that power over them. But there is an even deeper reason why they remain hidden. It is about the preservation of intimacy. In a world of chronic oversharing, we have destroyed the concept of mystery. When you know what your old high school classmate ate for breakfast, where they went on vacation, and what their living room looks like, the boundary between the public and the private collapses. We have created a society of parasocial relationships, one-sided illusions of intimacy, where we feel like we know someone just because we consume their digital footprint. The person who never posts photos understands the law of scarcity. They know that if everyone has access to you, no one truly values you. If your face is available to the entire globe at the click of a button, it loses its sacredness. By keeping their physical image offline, they are protecting the sanctuary of true intimacy. They are reserving their existence for the physical realm. If you want to see them smile, you have to earn the right to sit across from them in a room. If you want to know what they look like today, you have to be part of their actual, tangible life. They do not give away pieces of their soul to the void. They give their presence only to the people who are standing right in front of them. This is not insecurity. This is the highest form of self-respect. Finally, we must acknowledge the psychological power of the unseen. In any dynamic, the person who reveals the least holds the most power. When you post your entire life online, you give the world a complete map of your psychological state, your locations, your status, and your vulnerabilities. You become predictable. You become an open book, vulnerable to the judgment, envy, and scrutiny of the masses. The person who never posts is the ultimate observer. They walk through the digital world like a ghost. They can see the panopticon. They can watch the performance of society, but they remain completely untouchable. Because they offer no data, they cannot be judged. Because they offer no image, they cannot be targeted. They possess the ultimate luxury of the modern age: true privacy. They can change, they can age, they can fail, and they can reinvent themselves in absolute peace, without the suffocating pressure of a digital audience watching their every move. The indigenous tribes who feared the camera were not ignorant. They were prophetic. They understood that there are parts of the human experience that are too sacred to be captured, commodified, and consumed by the masses. If you are someone who has felt the pressure to post, the pressure to prove your existence to a machine, I want you to look at your blank profile picture, not as an empty space, but as a shield. You are not broken because you refuse to perform. You are not insecure because you refuse to be a product on a digital shelf. You are one of the few people left who still owns themselves entirely. You have kept your mystery. You have kept your peace. And most importantly, you have kept your soul. This is Cognilume. Signal in the noise.